I thought that was a good introduction to social cognitive to get your brains really going in this mode. I always do this, sorry. Okay, so some assumptions of social cognitive learning. Oh, my video is right in the way. Hold on. All right, so just so you can see this picture, human behavior is shaped by a reciprocal interaction. So it's not like cognition leads to behavior, leads to environmental factors. No, it's like environmental factors influence behavior, influence cognition, back and forward. It's a continuous cycle between all three. And so just three really big assumptions is that people learn through seeing other things happening, so observations. Those mental states are important. So how we're mentally faring matters a lot, our cognition. And then learning doesn't necessarily lead to a behavior change. So like in behaviorism, it you had to see a change in order to mean someone learned something, a change in behavior, whereas in social cognitive, it's not necessarily you're going to see that change. And so we're going to look at Bandura as kind of the man, the psychologist behind this theory. He was observing preschool children hit a Bobo doll aggressively. I'm sorry, the preschool children were observing an adult hitting it aggressively, and when the adult leaves the room, the children were observed acting aggressively towards the Bobo doll. So you're seeing like they were observing something, they were learning things. And then children who did not observe aggressive behavior, they didn't display as aggressive behavior. So what I want to do is show you the video, and if you can, just jot down some aspects of social cognitive, that behavior, environment, and cognition in your notes, and maybe some implications for why this matters for us as teachers. So we're only going to watch 45 to 2:30. So let's go over here. All right.
She pummeled it with a mallet, flung it in the air, kicked it repeatedly, and threw it down and beat it. And these novel acts were embellished with hostile remarks. The children were then left in the playroom that had a variety of toys. Now, the children who had observed the aggressive modeling adopted much of it. They even invented new ways for attacking the doll. Children who had not observed the adult model were less aggressive and never hit the Bobo doll in the novel ways that were modeled. The children who had been exposed to the aggressive modeling showed an increased attraction to guns, even though the adult model never used them. At the time we did this research, it was widely believed that seeing others venting aggression would drain away the viewer's aggressive drive. As you can see, exposure to modeled aggression is hardly cathartic. Televised violence has four major effects. It teaches aggressive styles of behavior, weakens restraints over aggression, desensitizes and habituates viewers to human cruelty, and shapes viewers' images of reality.
All right. Whoa. So I'm sure you're thinking about loads of ways that video applies to us as teachers in terms of what kids are watching and seeing on social media or television, or even what they're seeing us do, or people at home do, or people in the community do, and how some students are exposed to things that are going to lead to more aggressive behaviors or more negative behaviors, and some kids are going to be exposed to great models. So this is social cognitive theory, and why it's so important. And so let's take a look at some of the theory's assumptions. you'll see some differences between this and behaviorism. So we've got people learning by observation. The implication for that, of course, is that we have to be the demonstrators ourselves. So I love that paradox of the teacher yelling, "Stop yelling" to the kids. That does not work in social cognitive theory, whereas that would be kind of like a punishment in behaviorism, right? Okay, learning is an internal process that may not lead to a behavior change. My heart goes out to this assumption because everything takes time, and learning does not reveal itself immediately. Some things, and you've experienced this too, sometimes we realize things about a lesson way down the road after the lesson has taken place. And so we need to have that patience with kids when working with social cognitive theory. I was always guilty of wanting to see results just immediately. But I think one of the biggest takeaways I've gotten from teaching is it takes time. Give students time because they actually are learning. It just may not be exhibited in their behaviors, which I think is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Okay, and then people need to set goals to direct their behavior and motivation. And that's kind of where self-regulation comes in, and we'll talk about that. And so as teachers, we are encouraging students to set productive goals. Sometimes you would find me in my reading class saying, what is our reading stamina today? Let's go for 5 minutes of uninterrupted, beautifully silent reading. And we would work up to maybe 10, maybe 15 minutes. So those goals are important. People and the environment mutually influence each other. I love this one. So encourage students to make choices that will lead to beautiful experiences in the classroom. So I like to think about encouraging students not just to make a good choice for me, but because they will have a more joyful experience in the classroom as a whole. And their choices lead to that more positive experience in that environment. So it's a reciprocal relationship. I'm influencing them, they're influencing me. The classroom itself is influencing us, our routines, the relationships, the classroom culture is all influencing each other. And then behavior becomes increasingly self-regulated with age. And so we need to teach students these self-regulation strategies, just like we teach cognitive strategies for how best to learn and how best to think. Students need explicit instruction and scaffolding in self-regulation. And so you might see, I did a lot of self-regulating lessons. We did a lot of breathing techniques. We took breaks when we needed them. I had a cool down spot in my room. Things like this help with self-regulation. And so these are the assumptions and implications from behaviorism. And so I want you to look at these. You can go back. You can even pause on social cognitive. You can pause on behaviorist. What differences do you see? So pause me and take a minute to actually jot down some differences that you see. Did you pause me? Pause me. Okay, so we're back from the pause, hopefully. And hopefully you found some things like in social cognitive theory, it's the environment and internal cognition, whereas behaviorism was all environmentally produced. In social cognitive, it's not quick changes. It's not immediate changes like behaviorism is. It's a more patient process. Timing is less direct. It's more indirect, and it takes maybe a longer time to learn, to be considered learned. Okay, and now you guys are going on to another activity in the Nearpod. See you in a minute.